Hi there, this is Unmesh and today we're going to learn how to use Liquify to correct the shape and form when it comes to portrait retouching in Photoshop. Also along the way, I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks that will make your workflow so much more faster and efficient. This video is divided into sections, so if you want to go ahead and skip to any section that you like, you can use these timestamps. So without any further ado, let's get started. So here we are in Photoshop, and if you want to go ahead and download any photo used in the video, make sure to check the links in the description below. This photo was submitted by Heather Yeager. She is an awesome photographer. Go ahead and check out her work right here. Now, as you might see, let's zoom in a little bit. This is our first example. It looks all right. Doesn't have a lot of things to correct. However, little things make a big difference. First of all, make a copy of this background layer. Press Ctrl or Command J. Convert this into a smart object so that we can change the values later. How do we do that? Go to Filter and then Convert for Smart Filters. Hit OK. Then simply apply Liquify. Filter, then Liquify. Now inside of Liquify there are a lot of tools and we're going to go over them one by one. So first one is the Forward Warp tool. Let's zoom in quite a bit by pressing Ctrl plus, Command plus if you're using a Mac. Okay. Now once you're zoomed in, here we have the Forward Warp tool, the shortcut to which is W. Okay, press W or select the tool. What does the Forward Warp tool do? Think of it like this. Once you enter Liquify, your image converts into a thick liquid, just like a thick liquid paste. And that's why the name Liquify, that you can move around. So when you select the Forward Warp tool, just as the symbol suggests, what is the symbol? It is a hand smudging. That's what it is. So you can move around that thick liquid. So right now your image is just like a thick liquid. Make the brush bigger. You can just simply move around, do whatever you want, just like a thick liquid. You can go back. Right here on the right hand side, we have the brush tool options. As the name suggests, size controls the size of the brush. Density controls the density, how dense is the brush. Rate, pressure controls the pressure. Now think of it like this. If you were moving something through the same distance, if you applied less pressure, it will move less. If you apply more pressure, it will move more. As simple as that. If the pressure is 100, even if I make just a little bit of adjustment, it totally moves with it, right? Just moves with it. Let's go back. However, if the pressure is low, I will have to move a couple times. It doesn't give that kind of force. And that's what it is, pressure. So next is rate. It won't work with this tool. However, it will work with the blow tool and we'll go through that later. When it comes to the Forward Warp tool, the rate doesn't work. Now the density simply controls the density. Have a look. If the value is at 100, it will move everything inside of that brush. If the value is at, say, 4%, see, it moves just the center. So you will get the idea of what each slider does by simply playing with it. Okay, Photoshop is a playing software. The more you play, the more you learn. Now let's reconstruct it. Now one more thing, important thing. If you want to restore everything, let's scroll down and there is this brush reconstruct options. Choose reconstruct all. Just click on it and it will be fine. Now the next tool here is reconstruct tool, just the thing that we did right now on an overall basis. For example, using the Forward Warp tool or any other tool, you did some changes just like this. Or let's go ahead and increase the pressure a little bit. To increase the pressure, hold the Alt, the right mouse button, drag it down. As you drag it down, it increases the pressure. Drag it up, it decreases the pressure. With Mac, that would be Option and Control. So let's say we did some changes just like this. Make the brush a little bigger. We will increase the density to 100 and we did some changes just like that. And you don't want that change right over there, but you like the change that you did over here. So you just want to revert this change. What to do? Use this tool called the Reconstruct tool. Now, just paint over this and it will slowly and gradually bring it back to normal. Now it's very slow. Why is it slow? Because the pressure is low. Increase the pressure, it will do it all at once. So that's what the reconstruct brush is. The next one is the smooth tool. It's an amazing tool but is often ignored. Let me show you what it does. So let's go ahead and zoom in. Suppose we were adjusting the eye, making it a little smaller. So using the Forward Warp tool, we made it a little smaller. We pushed it in a little bit just like that. And we liked the small eye. Okay, I'm doing it all wrong just to show you what it does. Okay. This is okay, I kind of like it, but it's not smooth. Have a look at this. The size of the eye is something which I like, but it's not smooth at all. So how do we make it smooth? Using the smooth tool. The shortcut is E. Use it and just simply slowly and gradually paint around the edges, which is not smooth. Decrease the pressure, this is too much, and slowly and gradually do it. See, it makes it smooth. Watch. Amazing. Now you have a smooth edge, just like that. As simple as that. Then you can go ahead and adjust. See, it also makes the eyeball smoother. Then you can use this forward warp tool and make it more circle, and you get the idea how this works. Okay. Again, this is not smooth. Again, use the smooth tool to make it smooth. Okay. Now, if you have a keen eye, you might have noticed that the brush tool options have the rate activated when the smooth tool is selected. It just controls the rate. So if you decrease the rate, it does it slowly. If you increase the rate, it does it super fast. So right now it's completely smooth. As you can see, it's totally smooth. But if it was not smooth, using the forward warp tool, if I make it just like that, and let's choose the smooth tool, 100% rate, it does it all at once. So if I decrease the rate, it does it gradually. Got it? Okay, let's choose restore all. Next one is the twirl clockwise tool. The shortcut is C. Simply it does what it says. It just twirls it clockwise, just like that. Let's restore. This is an important tool called the pucker tool. Now, why do we use the pucker tool? To make things smaller. Sometimes what happens is the angle of camera is such that the nose appears big. So using the pucker tool, we can make the nose smaller. Just select the pucker tool. Decrease the rate is very high, pressure is disabled. See, in this case, the rate is active. Make it a little bigger and just click once, twice, depending upon how small you want the nose to be. This is fine. Let's have a look at the before and after. Before, after. You can check the before and after by checking on and off the preview. The next tool is the opposite of pucker tool, and that is the bloat tool. It does just the opposite of what the pucker tool does. It makes things bigger, just like that. We didn't want that to happen. Push left. You have to just play with these to see what each of them do. Now, the next tool is very important, and this is something which can be used often, and that is the freeze mask tool. What does that do is that it freezes some areas from being liquefied. Again, thick liquid image, if you use the freeze mask tool and paint on some areas, that freezes that particular area. You cannot move it. So for example, we wanted to adjust the eye or say the face, and we don't want to affect the hair. So you would choose the freeze mask tool and simply paint on this hair, the area that you don't want to touch or affect, like this. And then no matter what you do with the forward warp tool or any other tool, it just will not affect anything which is inside the mask. Have a look. It just won't affect that. Now you can also erase the mask using the thaw mask tool. I don't know how to pronounce that. And just like this. Let's restore all. Okay, let's erase the mask. Okay, all right. Next is the face tool. Now Photoshop did not detect any face in this image. As you can see, if I go up, Face-Aware Liquify, no face is detected. Sometimes it just doesn't detect face. There is a face, but it didn't detect. So it won't work. Okay. Hand tool to simply move, and the magnifying glass tool, to zoom tool actually, to zoom in like that. Okay. And you get the idea of how the tools work. Let's go ahead and now correct the image. Let's zoom into the image and let's have a look at it. I think the eyes are a little bigger. So you can use the forward warp tool. Let's decrease the density, and I will decrease the pressure as well to 30%. That's fine. Let's zoom in quite a bit. I will decrease the pressure even more like that and slowly and gradually push it in. Now, here's an important tip. Make the brush of the size of the thing that you want to affect. I'm going to say that again for you. Make the brush of the size of the thing that you want to move. Make sense? For example, in this case, this thing, we want to push the eye in, right? So you want to make the brush of the size of that. Exactly, just like that. And then slowly nudge it in. This is the second tip. Don't do it all at once. Slowly and gradually nudge it in. And that is why I have a low pressure, like that. Nudge it in slowly. Make it a little smaller. We don't want to make huge differences. Small differences make a big difference at the end. Now, let's do it with the other eye. This is bulged out. I get it's the angle of the camera which does it, or the subject, but we're gonna take care of that. Make the brush a little smaller and bring out that curve. There's a flat line over there. We need to make it a little round, like that. Okay, make it a little bigger. You can also use the smooth tool here, but that's fine. Okay, that's looking great. Have a look at the before and after. And after that, I'm going to show you the most important tip. Before, after makes a huge difference. Now, here is the most important tip when it comes to Liquify. Most important. And I was struggling with this for months. So once you're looking at the before and after, okay, so you looked at the before and after, that was fine. And you're zoomed in and you want to move. So how do we move? We hold the space bar and then move, but it just will not work because if you press the space bar, it just checks and unchecks the preview. So how to let go of this cycle? I would earlier click here, there, it just wouldn't work. I would be frustrated. I would then move the size, then it would go. So it's very frustrating. So here's a quick way to let go of it is bring your cursor to the image and simply, it is as simple as ABC. Ready for it? Right click. That's all you need to do. Right click and it will let go of that selection of the preview. So if you're doing this and you want to move in, you want to press space bar, it just won't go off from this. Just simply check this because you want to see the after and then bring the cursor to the image, right click, boom, gone. Okay, now let's zoom into the lips and we need to push it a little inside, I think, like that. Now I know I'm being very picky, but let's do it. Let's push it in, bring it out. Let's zoom out a little bit. Now that's fine. Now let's adjust the nose, make the brush a little bigger. Nudge it slowly. Again, make the brush of the size of the thing that you want to move. In this case, that is the nose. Take it a little bit to the left. That looks good. Now as you can see, the angle of the camera is such that the head is a little coming out, so we'll just push it in just a little bit, not much, and take care of this. Okay, that's fine. We'll push it out a bit, this area, make it a little round. Seems okay. This seems okay. Yeah, that seems all right. Have a look at the before and after. So this is the before, this is the after. Small adjustments make a huge difference. Now once you're done, once you're ready, before you hit OK, here's one more very important tip. Before you hit OK, there is another tool called Reconstruct. Just click on that tool. Sometimes when it comes to Liquify, we tend to go a little overboard. Click on Reconstruct. When the amount is at 100, it's everything that you just did for the image. When the amount is 0, the image returns to its original form. It's just like an undo, an overall undo on a slider. So let's decrease the value because this is totally perfect. If you want to decrease the perfection, if you want that natural look, you can decrease it sometimes, just like this, just a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead with 100 just to let you know that this is something which you can also do. Let's choose 92, hit OK, and then hit OK. Now remember, you can always change it later. Why? Because this is a smart object. You can also revert it completely back to its original form. If you double click on Liquify right over there, you can just change it back to normal. It will again open up the Liquify with all of the changes that you have made. And if you still choose this tool, the Reconstruct tool, and if you still paint it over here, it will reconstruct it. Okay, hit cancel. We don't want to make the changes. And that's it for the first example. So here we are in the second example, and this photo was also submitted by Heather. If you have a look, I did a little bit of skin retouching. So this is the before, this is the after. Let's have a closer look at it. So before, after. The texture is still intact. It's a lot of skin sculpting going on. If you want to go ahead and check out that tutorial, check that out right over there, or links are in the description. Now you can apply Liquify in the beginning as soon as you get your image inside of Photoshop, because it's always best to set the structure right first. However, I personally sometimes apply Liquify at the end. Why? Let me show you. So for example, you created a merged layer. You have to do that, Ctrl-Alt-Shift-E, and changed that into a smart object by going to Filter, Convert for Smart Filters, hit OK, and applied some Liquify. Suppose I'd go to Filter and then Liquify, and I'd apply some Liquify. So I'll move the shoes. Let's just let it load. Okay, so I'll move the shoes a little bit like that using the forward warp tool, not that reconstruct tool. Okay, just like this. I would make it something like this. What am I doing today? So just like this, and hit OK. Now, the changes are saved as smart filters. Now suppose I want to make some changes. Okay, let's turn this off. If I just open up the skin retouching group, it's wrongly spelled actually. Okay, now if I want to turn off frequency separation 1 and 2, or inside of color corrections I want to make some changes, let's change the hue saturation of this. For example, I made it black and white. You don't want to do this, but suppose you want to do this. Suppose you are doing this. Now, if you had done Liquify before, it would have created a problem, because you cannot revert back, you cannot make some changes. But if you have done Liquify at the end, let me show you what it does. You can again create a new layer, then press Ctrl-Alt-Shift-E. This creates a merged layer again. You can then convert this into a smart filter and copy the same smart filter to that layer and delete this one. Isn't that interesting? So you can hold the Alt or Option, drag the smart filter to that one, and have a look. That will be replicated. It's processing right now. See, it will replicate. Now as you can see, it has done the same thing, and you can make changes. You can now go ahead and delete this old merged layer, and you're pretty much good to go. You cannot do this if you apply Liquify in the beginning. Again, it's a personal preference. Sometimes I do at the beginning. Okay, now let's apply some Liquify. We don't want that to happen. Let's go back. Okay, we don't want that. Now, let's turn this layer on and let's go back to Liquify. And I'm going to show you something interesting, how to correct the form when it comes to images. Let's zoom in and let's reconstruct all. We don't want that. Restore. So as you can see, the hand is pretty manly over here. It's very thick. Let's adjust it. How do we adjust it? Simple. Use the forward warp tool. Make the brush of the size of the thing that you want to move. Zoom out a little bit and nudge it very slowly, just like that. Now, as you do, in the side, there will be some gaps. We will learn how to fill those in this example. Let's make it a little thin. Beautiful. Like that. Now that looks better. Gentle. Sometimes the angle in which her hand is also plays a role in her hand looking like that. Okay, that's pretty much okay. Let's have a look at the before and after, before, after, before, after. We need to make this small as well, the hand, overall hand. So we can use what tool? The pucker tool. Use the pucker tool, make it big enough. Just once, twice, thrice. This makes the hand small. Have a look. Before, after, before, after. Isn't that interesting? Now, don't worry about the gaps. There are two ways of filling it. Let's zoom in. One way is simply using right click on the image to let go of this one. One way is using the forward warp tool and stretch it all out. Let's move this side and use the simple forward warp tool, make it small enough. Let's increase the pressure a little bit and move it to the left, just like this. That's one way. And it gets a little problematic sometimes. Let me show you one other way, which is also good. Hit OK. Okay. As simple as that. Now, what you have to do, as you can see, there are other layers which are filling it. Let's turn all of them. Let's just make this one visible. Now you have this. How do we fill it? Number one, you can crop it always. So you can press C and you can just simply go ahead and crop it. So let's bring the front image or the original image ratio like that, and you can simply just crop it like that. That's one thing, but we don't want to crop it. Let's cancel the crop by clicking on the move tool and don't crop. Another way is using the clone stamp tool. So create a new layer, Using the clone stamp tool right over there, make sure sample all layers is selected and then make it bigger. Blend mode is normal. Sample this area and simply just paint on the left out areas. Like that. Very simple to do. Now be careful a little bit, and you can do it using the clone stamp tool as well. One another way is using the content aware fill, but that would require you to convert this layer into a raster. But you don't want that to happen, but let me show you how that happens as well. So if you right click over here, if you rasterize this layer, and then what you can do using the magic wand tool, make a selection of this area and then expand it a little bit. Select, modify, and then expand. Expand the selection by 1 or 2 pixels. Let's choose 5 pixels, hit OK. It allows it to dig in to the skin, and then simply go to Edit, Fill, Content Aware. Make sure Content Aware is selected, normal opacity 100, color adaptation, hit OK. It also does an amazing job. Have a look. It just filled in. This brings us to the third example, and I've already made a copy of the background layer and converted that into a smart object. Now let me show you something very interesting. So go to Filter and then Liquify. If you're using anything beyond Photoshop CC 2015.5, you will have this amazing feature, and the feature is Face-Aware Liquify. It sometimes, not all the time, sometimes fails to, but most of the times it detects the faces in your images, and you can adjust the faces according to the sliders, okay? So here you have all those sliders: eye size, eye height, eye width. So this one is for the left eye and this one is for the right eye. If you want to move both of them simultaneously, let's zoom in. Sometimes the eyes are not equal in size, so that's why it's separate. In Photoshop CC 2015.5, you had the sliders, but the sliders were just the same. So for both the right and the left eye, there was just one slider. But with Photoshop CC 2017, this changed. For both the eyes, you had separate sliders. Right now, I'm using Photoshop CC 2018. Okay, so eye size of the left and the right eye. If you click on this button, link button, it links both the sliders. Then both the eyes move simultaneously. There is eye height, whatever you want to do with it. For this particular image, I want to change the face shape. So inside of face shape, it's very wide. So I'll just go ahead and jawline, I'll just decrease it just like this, just a little bit, not so much, just a little bit. Have a look, before, after, before, after. Makes a lot of difference. Now, in these images where the faces are detected, you can also use the face tool. The shortcut is A. Let's reconstruct it by clicking on Restore All, but you cannot restore all. When you move the sliders, you cannot restore all. It only restores brushes. So all of these tools that you use here, bloat, forward warp, these will be restored, but not the sliders. To reset the sliders, simply just click on reset and it resets inside of the Face-Aware Liquify. Now choose the face tool, and using the face tool, you can do it right on the image. You don't have to use the sliders. So you want to make it smaller like that. Now this is linked. Let's close the link, and you want to make it bigger just like this, and you want to make this a little bigger. You can also change the face shape like that, right in from the image. Isn't that wonderful? Hit OK once you're satisfied, and we are pretty much done with this example. So here's the fourth and the final example. I've already opened up Liquify. We can learn how to correct the eyes inside of Liquify. There are a lot of ways of doing it outside of Liquify, but let me show you something interesting. Let's zoom in. Now, suppose the eyes were not equal in size. Now this happens most of the time. Not all of us have equal eyes. Most of us don't. I don't have equal eyes. So here's what you can do. Using this slider, you can make the eyes bigger, the left eye. But as you make the left eye bigger and make it equal to the right eye, the eyeball also becomes big. So how do we make the eyeball small? So first of all, let's adjust the eyes. We want to make this bigger as well, a little bit, a little more bigger. And then using the pucker tool, you can just decrease the size of the pucker tool. You can just make the eyeball smaller, just a little smaller, and there you go. That's how you do it. So you can use both the things, the sliders along with the brush. Have a look, before, after. So that's pretty much all we had to do with Liquify in Photoshop. Just as a recap, I'm gonna give you this. To learn Liquify, play with all the sliders, all the tools, and you'll be good to go. Just remember a couple of things. Number one, convert the layer into a smart object before you apply Liquify if you want to make it non-destructive. Number two, to let go of that preview selection, just right-click on the image and that will let go of it. And that's pretty much it. I hope this video helped you, and if it did, make sure to give us a like, and also don't forget to subscribe, and not just subscribe. Ring the bell so that you, my friend, don't miss a thing. I'll see you guys in my next one. Till then, stay tuned and make sure that you keep creating.